would like to speak, and for those that would like to speak, as usual, please come up, state your name and address for the record, and limit your time, give or take 3 minutes if you can. First is Frank Chase. Welcome.
Frank Chase, 24 Roxbury Road. The mayor reports to me that she has been asking the state for funding to complete the Allen Street storm sewer work in her annual legislative priorities. Memos from 2015 to 2021 with no success thus far. These requests do not cover the Hampton-Eaton subsystem segment. Why are state officials not cooperating with the mayor's requests for assistance? To Mayor Stewart, Chief of Staff Dorsey, Treasurer Salerno, Financial Director Perugini, please identify the money. What is your plan? Update your citizens. The city has funding and funding sources to upgrade Allen Street and Hampton-Eaton. Unfortunately, city officials have failed to allocate existing money, have failed to obtain new funding, and have prioritized available funds for other purposes. Are we utilizing all the programs available to us for the benefit of our citizens? The mayor's recent mailings indicate the following. Together, we are doing the good hard work of transforming our city and improving the quality of life for everyone. I say, really? Meanwhile, the Allen Street Basin has flooded my neighborhood, property, and basement 5 times this year. Our quality of life is drowning in unhealthy, polluted, flooding stormwater. Mayor Stewart says that she's committed to improving the New Britain infrastructure. For example, the mayor created the New Britain Flush Program, a $90 million plus upgrade to the city's sewer and stormwater infrastructure. So far, $17 million has been identified or spent, but none for the Allen Street Phase 2 and none for the Hampton-Eaton subsystem. We've been waiting 30 years to fund these storm sewer infrastructure upgrades. Our quality of life has deteriorated and our property values have decreased because of the compromised storm sewer system in our neighborhood. The upgrades required for this system must be completed in a timely fashion for the benefit of all. Our neighborhoods must be safe for our residents. We cannot ignore critical neighborhood infrastructure upgrades any longer. Thank you.
Thank you. John McNamara.
John McNamara, 56 Brighton Street. Thank you. Just briefly, I want to voice support for Alderwoman Ortiz Luna's petitions 2, 3, and 4. I think it was the last meeting. Requesting information about the American Rescue Plan Act. And I think it's high time this council, if it hasn't, get an accounting of the $56 million and where it's at, and brought out this month. I think it would be a timely thing. I know the deadline is next year, but I've heard it's all spent. I've heard anything I find on the state or federal level, the reports are about a year behind on the eligible uses for that. And as I said 2 weeks ago, the ARPA Act specifies that infrastructure, drainage, water systems are a very appropriate use capital project to address this issue. And I just want to urge the city, I think the council needs that information, and all grant and other options need to be on the table. I think clearly projects have been put in front of those neighborhood needs. So I want to urge you to get that accounting as Alderman Luna has requested. And if there are funds left, any ARPA money should be applied to this issue. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our city clerk, Mark Bernacki.
Good evening, Mark Bernacki, Town and City Clerk, 27 Fairway Drive. You're rapidly approaching the end of your terms. It just seemed like yesterday that we're all on the stage together, all being sworn in to your office. There are several of you who are not running again, so thank you very much for dedicating your time and energies to serve the people of New Britain. To the remainder of the council, best wishes on the elections, less than a month away, so good luck on the campaigning. It's a little bit of housekeeping for the folks that are not running. If you remember, you signed out to receive your gold facsimile of your Aldermanic badge. If you can, please remember to return it to me, otherwise we have to send out a bill to you, and we don't want to do that. You folks spend enough time and energy giving back to the people of New Britain. I really hate to send out an invoice to you folks, so thank you, and again, best wishes.
Thank you. That's it for those that have signed up on the sign-up list. So I will offer it. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak before the common council? Second time, anyone wish to speak before the council? Sure.
Margaret Messerschmidt, 6 Hampton Street, and I just want to back up what Mr. McNamara and Mr. Chase have been advocating for, and to let you know that our neighborhood is in it for the long haul. We understand that this is a long-term project, that it's not going to get done overnight, but we're going to stick with it. So I'm going to be here, and I know Frank's going to be here, and we've got a lot of neighbors behind us. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so third and final time for those seated out there. Anyone wish to speak before the council? All right, now I'll open it up. Anybody on the phone? Okay, seeing none, then public participation is closed at 7:07 p.m. Any council members wish to address? Alderman Eilon.
So I'd like to address what was mentioned here with Frank Chase. I know he's my neighbor and has experienced already flooding before, and he had to fight to get some improvement, but apparently it wasn't enough. This little park there is a crater that it becomes overwhelmed. So I want to remind the common council that we passed unanimously climate change a resolution in 2018 where we all endorsed. Part of that was to take care of flooding, to make it a priority of the impact of climate change. So, and then we got Overlook. We had a big, another area where there's trough like that and water is collected, Overlook. And 4 years ago, I mean, I would keep asking every year, what's going on with Overlook? And our head of public works keeps saying, oh, well, next year maybe. And they did some work, but not enough. It was not a priority. And so I'm all with, for the Hampton Margaret and with Frank Chase, that they're upset because it wasn't a priority. Instead we have the fancy bridge here. We have other, important development, but without taking care of flooding and issues like that, we have no New Britain. People will not be able to live here. So that should be number one in our priority. And I'm sorry to say, I've seen a lack of priority that serves really our needs in the last 6 years that I've served on the Common Council. The second one was, the issue was about the use of the American Rescue Act. 56 million, and we heard that it was appropriate to use for flooding. Instead, it was used for other things, worthy but not as important. So I think there needs to be some changes in the way the city looks at its priorities and look at the infrastructure given that we're going to face hurricanes, we're going to face more flooding and other issues, and the city is definitely not ready for that. I'm really concerned. This is my last month serving, but if any of my legacy would be is to follow our climate change emergency statement, creating a task force that will focus all the energy on the issues that we're facing in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other alderpersons? All right, so real quick, I know it's a kink in the ointment, but actually our Connecticut Department of Environmental Energy and Environmental Protection has been working on a program for the stormwater management plan confirmation. They started in 2018. They finished and concluded and issued a statement starting just September 29 of this year. And the effective date is October 1, 2023, and that is technically to allow permits for any work that is done, because their concern is pollution in the wastewater system. You can look it up, Connecticut MS4. And technically, they say the grants, permits will be issued beginning in March of next year. Technically, what they're asking is for those towns and cities that have an engineering report to review it, including of now that they've given. My frustrating part of going through that is they're still using statistics from 2012, but that's what Connecticut has in there. But they're also recognizing that the water that's coming is greater than. But their main concern, like your area goes into Piper Brook, they're wondering what's going into Piper Brook. Legitimately, that this is Connecticut Deep, and I fully understand that. And we talk about it's not just water, it just doesn't rain on the pavement, it rains on your lawns, it rains on everything, so everything now, pesticides, germicides, everything now goes where? So their concern is what is, so they're asking all engineering report that anybody that's in the MS4 to re-review it and back in to also say, what are you doing for, you have that, but what are you doing for the mass and wastewater, et cetera? What's going to be going into our sewer systems, what's going into the end result, what is the final run. So we do have an engineering report, but that also means we're going to have to review that and go through. But I know, but we can't get a permit in Allen Streets, that's a state 175, that's a state road. So you can't even get a permit before that. And they're saying any permits or any work done before the permit could result in hefty fines. I understand what they're saying, and the last thing you need to do is spend $4 million and say, guess what, we got to dig it up because they said you didn't do it right or you didn't do it big enough. So I think patience needs to be in there. For me, I'm been after the mayor too. We need to look at it again. I think this will give a structure that DEEP is going to be, and DEEP is after everybody in MS4 to come up with this program. So it's not like they're saying, yeah, whenever you get around to it, they've got their feet, and it's the same for most of the other towns that are all in the MS4 program. So that's just an update. Feel free to go to Connecticut Deep MS4 on the stormwater management plan certification to allow for permits for any work that is done on drainage, sewer systems, et cetera. So, okay, that being said, meeting is concluded. This portion of the meeting, Mayor Beal will shortly start the meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm on break. Yeah, I'm on break, so I'm right on. But I'm just surprised because not, how many of my neighbors have taken about it? Today I walked around and and I think it's because it's so back and back. Yeah. All along, like if you walk my family, my dog.
We've talked about these priorities for years.
It's coming to a head now. It's coming to a head. You know, we're not gonna give up. I can't give up.
Nice thing, especially when you do it right. Now, look, what happens is all the water going on, that can be funneled through the pipe, and that goes even more. And we need less cement, allows for more less money. All over the world, this place will be
Well, my place is
yeah, exactly. Move to the next one. When you get, 20 inches in 20 minutes. That's fine.
You're on, Joe.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the City of New Britain Common Council to order. The date's October 11th, 2023, the time 7:19 p.m. Mr. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alderpersons Dyson.
Here.
Ayalon. Catanzaro. Costa. Hargraves. Malinowski. Luna. Pabon. Russell. Rutkowski. Sanchez. Skirpo. Segura. Thompson.
Present.
Smedley. 11 present, Your Honor.
11 present. Thank you very much. Can we all please rise for the invocation, which will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Clerk?
Let us pray. O God, our Heavenly Father, look down on the people of Israel. Lift their spirits and comfort them in knowing they are not alone in their hour of grief. We pray for the loss of innocent lives. We pray for a quick and decisive resolution to the turmoil in the Middle East. Put love and compassion in the hearts of people that claim that they are doing your work through death and destruction. We ask this in thy name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we all, before we take a seat, I would just like everyone to share in a moment of silence with us. We lost two incredible friends to the city of New Britain in the last couple of weeks. The first one is Peter Spano, and the second is Gary Robinson. These two men dedicated their lives to the betterment of our community. All of us can think of some way, shape, or form. Each one of them have touched some organization that we've all been a part of. Gary with his incredible involvement, whether it's through CCARC, Triad with the Senior Center, Trinity on Main, pretty much keeping that going himself. And Mr. Spano, a World War II veteran who, God, we loved him. But both of these gentlemen passed away within the last 2 weeks. So please, a moment of silence to think about them and remember them and their families. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, sure. Alderman Ayalon for a moment of personal privilege regarding Israel.
Since our clerk mentioned the issue of Israel, it's close to my heart. From Israel originally. A little story. There's a girl, 11-year-old Adar, and she's the granddaughter of our best friend. And she was found herself in a bunker with her family, shot at last Saturday. Her mom was bleeding to death in the kibbutz. Her brother got shot in the hand, so she took a belt and wrapped around to try to her brother, their 13-year-old, try to save him unsuccessfully. And she got shot 5 bullets in her foot, and she took a shirt and wrapped it around to stop the bleeding. She survived. Her father survived and had his foot cut today. I can't say how it affected us, all of us. Our friends suffered massacres that we've never experienced before. But I'd like to acknowledge the heroism of this 11-year-old. She's now in the hospital, is talking, but at night she has to have one of her brothers sleep with her and hug her so she can fall asleep. So I'm dedicating this to her and so other many heroes that stood up for these massacres. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other points of personal privilege this evening before I move on? Okay. Move along to the approval of the minutes. I see 2 regular meetings here.
Thank you, Your Honor. I make a motion to accept the minutes of the regular meetings of September 13th, 2023 and September 27th, 2023.
I have a second by Alderman Thompson. Any questions or comments on that? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Any amendments to the agenda?
Yes, I make a motion to amend the agenda by adding item I.
I have a second from Alderman Russell. Any questions or comments on that? Mr. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alderpersons Dyson.
Yes.
Ayalon.
Yes.
Catanzaro.
Yes.
Malinowski.
Yes.
Ortiz Luna. Pabon.
Yes.
Russell. Rutkowski.
Yes.
Skirpo. Thompson.
Yes.
Smedley.
Yes.
11-0, Your Honor.
Motion carries. Mr. Clerk, petitions this evening, I see 5 of them.
Yes, we have 5, Your Honor.
Okay.
First one's from Alderman Ayalon. The city received a letter of noncompliance on behalf of the Municipal Finance Advisory Commission. He's asking that the Finance Department provide answers to the following. Why did the city fail to issue the required report in the required time? Is the city planning to submit the report before the November elections in order to assure the residents of New Britain that the city is in financially sound state? Please provide report by the next council meeting, October 25.
Sure, we'll send that to the Finance Department.
The next 4 are from Alderwoman Luna, looking for a written report on all of them for also the next council meeting on October 25th. Second one is for Mark Moriarty of Public Works Department to provide an updated design and plan for the Alden Street project.
The Public Works Department.
Okay, for the appropriate department, number 3, for the appropriate departments to provide proof of the $4 million transfer of the rainy day fund account to the Public Works account, which was passed September 27, 2023, for the Allen Street Drainage Improvement Project.
To Mayor's office.
Okay, number 4, for Jonathan Perugini, the Finance Director, to report the plans of the balance of money in the rainy day fund account and the plans for a deadline for the balance of money in the ARPA fund.
To the Finance Department.
Okay, and number 5, for Justin Dorsey, Chief of Staff, to provide an update to the installation of a water fountain in the dog park at Washington Park.
To the Mayor's office.
And that's it, Your Honor.
Thank you so much. On to the consent agenda, Alderman Smedley.
Thank you, Your Honor. I make a motion to accept the consent agenda of items A, B, C, D, E, G, H, and I. F will be off consent.
F, I did not mean to say it in that order. Seconded by Alderman Thompson. Any questions or comments on the consent agenda, A through E, G, H, I? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderpersons Dyson.
Yes.
Ayalon. Yes. Catanzaro. Yes. Malinowski. Yes. Ortiz Luna. Yes. Pabon. Yes. Russell. Yes. Rutkowski. Yes. Skirpo. Yes. Thompson. Yes. Smedley.
Yes.
11-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. Motion carries. Item F, I believe Alderman Ayalon.
I make a motion to,
Accept.
pardon?
It would just be to accept. Item
Accept and adopt item
F. I have a second by Alderman Thompson.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I have a few questions. May I request somebody from the police department?
Sure, we have Captain Buckowitz here.
Thank you.
He's here momentarily while Chief is filling in on a police athletic league matter, so.
Okay. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
I have a few questions on the response, because I asked, the background is, the Herald complained that the city is not forwarding its police bought information. Last month, in a meeting, Alderman Skripo, former police officer, I believe, said that the police complains that about bias by the Herald. So I just have a few questions on your response from the police commission that says nothing is kept from anyone. What has changed in the police relationship with the media? If you can explain to me.
Yes, we value our relationship with the media and the public. If any requests come in to us for department records, with our records division, we work with Corporation Counsel to make sure that information gets out to them.
And that has changed? Was it different before? Something has changed in the last few months. What was your policy before? Something happened, you simply call
As long as I've known, that's been the practice, sir. Any request for department records that come in, it gets sent to Corporation Counsel before it gets disseminated. But we value, like I said, we value our relationship with the media and the public, and we give out these records impartially. If the requests come in, we follow this process, and the records go out.
I'm not clear on that. So if something happens, because for example, there was the case of police officer's cruiser running over a woman here in town, and the reports immediately, the media, TV channels reported that the next day, but they relied on the state police rather than the city of New Britain. So when things like this happen, I'm not talking about, general, day-to-day arrests and so on. I'm talking about events like that. What's your policy about if something like this, somebody's killed, somebody, something like this happens? Do you report it to the media, or do you wait for somebody to ask and go through corporate counsel. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so again, we value our relationship with the media and the public, and we value our ability to be transparent, but we do have to operate within the law. And for an incident such as you mentioned, the state police are handling that, so we're taking our advice from, they're legal. And we're obligated, we can't release anything until their investigation is complete, so.
The next question I have is, in your response, you said that you recommended you are recommending to post helpful tips onto the police social media. What does that mean? What is this tips, and what's does the police have a Facebook page, or what is that the social media you have, and what are the tips that you're?
We do have a Facebook, we have an Instagram as well, and over the years, we have put stuff out. Tips for preventing one of our biggest crime trends at the moment is car break-ins or larceny from motor vehicles. We advise, lock your car, first and foremost. Don't leave anything of value in the vehicle. Don't leave anything in plain view that people can see and ponder if it's of value, so they break into your car. If you have the ability to park in a driveway or garage, that's the best practice. Keeping your vehicle in a well-lit area helps as well. If you have the ability to afford like a Ring camera or something similar, it's a great deterrent as well. And just be vigilant.
So this was the example of tips that the commission voted on to add?
I'm just providing you some common sense tips to.
Oh, so you do that already, but I know the commission voted on approving that tips would provide to the police school social media. So this
Okay.
was just to acknowledge what you're already doing?
Yes, we have put tips like that up before over the years.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
okay, so it's not nothing new. So, do you have anything else to add about the relationship between the New Britain Police and the media in general, and specifically with New Britain Herald? Anything else to?
I have nothing to add on that, sir.
So nothing have changed. So so the complaints and the speech by about bias by Alderman Scrippo was not relevant, or misunderstood, or?
I'm not really understanding the question. If
Right,
you
no.
can clarify it, please.
Because Alderman Scrippo mentioned that the police believes that the New Britain Herald is biased. It decides to put certain information and not others, and the New Britain Police feels that it's not fair. So, I don't know, do you
It sounds like
agree with
you're-
that? Do you?
It sounds like you're asking me to speak on what someone else feels or what their opinion is, and I can't do that. I could speak to facts. If a request comes into the police department for department records, we talk with our records division, we notify corporation counsel, and if we can release that information, we will.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Captain Buckowitz on this item? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the item in general? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving along to resolution number 1 this evening, Alderman Smedley.
Thank you, Your Honor. I make a motion to accept and adopt item number 1.
I have a second by Alderman Pabon.
Thank you. As we know, the City of New Britain is committed to revitalization, improving quality housing stock, and livability of the downtown area. City of New Britain is committed to the adaptive reuse and activation of underutilized buildings in order to promote economic development and growth of the Grand List. Avon at 102 LLC purchased the former Midcon Bank building at 102 West Main Street with the intention of converting it into mixed-use building with residential apartment units and commercial suites. The City of New Britain and Avon at 102 LLC are desirous of entering into a real estate tax modification agreement, which limits real estate property taxes to $800 per unit, residential and commercial unit, commencing with the addition to the Grand List following the issuance of the temporary certificate of occupancy, with an annual real estate property tax increase of 4% for each succeeding assessment date, for a total term not to exceed 13 years. Your Honor, we had some candid debate and conversation at the committee level, and this deal was looked over twice. and I am confident that this is in the best interest of our city and the investor, and I do urge adoption.
Thank you, Alderman Smedley. And to open, have any questions or comments on this item? Alderman Ayalon. Alderman Ayalon is who I called on first.
Thank you. Can we have
Mr. Benjamin?
Mr. Benjamin? Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Benjamin, we had talked about it also in committee, but I think it's important for the public to hear. So why do developers, in this case Avon, why do they need tax relief? And wouldn't they be able to do it without tax relief?
Sure. So, I mean, this project in particular is producing 27% of the residential units as affordable. And first of all, that's a really large number of any project to be set aside as affordable. When you have affordable units, they are subject to fair market rent, which are federally set numbers that just are never going to increase at the same rate that taxes would increase over the long term. So for a developer's pro forma to work, for the numbers to pencil out, in order to get lenders involved in the project, it has to meet certain standards, and to do that, you have to have a long-term tax deal to hedge against that.
Mm-hmm. And I asked you then, and I'll ask you again, so past developers have received 26 years, and, very generous 2% and so on. So what happened that this one is only 13
Completely
years?
different projects. So referencing the 26-year deals, those are projects that either needed major demolition, remediation, and then resulting in ground-up new construction. This project is a substantial retrofit of an existing structure. And although it does, and the developer can tell you all day long, require a lot of upfront costs of construction. There's a fortification project going on to add 2 stories to the building. It is not a totally ground-up new construction project that required a lot of pre-construction activities like demolition and remediation.
Since 27% of affordable housing is commendable, but I just looked at the spreadsheet we got, and so let me give you some examples here. So for a 1-bedroom on regular price, competitive, market, it's $1,750. And in affordable housing, subsidized, I guess, it's $1,247, or let's say $1,250.
Not subsidized.
Not-
Those are fair market rents.
Right, no, I mean, a 1-bedroom is, for example, 1-bedroom is $1,750, right?
That's market value. The 1247 is fair market rents, but that's not subsidized housing. Those are levels set by the federal government that we have to abide by. And this particular project is required to produce units that meet that standard based on a state grant that was received.
So, it's the mortgage. It's the mortgage for 10 years? No, it says the rent schedule.
Right.
So I'm confused here.
So I have the rent schedules divided into 2 different sets of numbers. One are market value, and the other is fair market rents.
Fair market rents.
Fair market rents. yeah.
Okay, fair market rents means rents that are set by the federal, by the
Yeah,
state?
those are HUD standards, basically. In our case, we received a grant from the state, which adopted those HUD-based standards.
But I notice here that for a 2-bedroom, for example, $1,499 or $1,500, even that is pretty expensive, even though it's considered, for a family of 4, 5, 6 to be able to afford that on top of everything else. So,
I'm not necessarily going to comment on,
Yeah.
That's a subjective, right, and these are HUD's calculations that we have to abide by.
okay. So, and I noticed that you changed it from 15 years to 13 years and from 2% to 4%. Can you comment on that, about these changes?
Yeah, I mean, that was on recommendation of the subcommittee and on the heels of having a discussion and debate at the subcommittee level.
In the committee, I voted against it, and Mr. Chair, Ms. Mayor here, I will vote against it, not because I'm opposed to housing, especially for affordable housing, but because the city doesn't have standards for which one should give and how much should be given to, to different developers.
Frankly, we're
And-
very discreet with our standards. So, I mean, if it requires demolition, if it requires a lot of upfront costs to dig into the ground in downtown New Britain and come across any sort of contaminated materials, have to abate that and then do ground-up new construction, we'll entertain a 20-plus year deal. But for something that's a retrofit project, it's 20 or less, something that works. I mean, ideally 15 for, if you listen to the developer, his lenders are barely going to touch something under 15. We could also do, if it was a renovation project, we can do 10 years by right in the enterprise zone and not even have to come in front of the council.
So what I'm saying is that all of this is nice, and it's the first time I hear it in my 6 years, and we asked many questions about what developers get. So that's my point is that I tried to pass a city ordinance about selling and leasing property, and
But that's
and it has
disposition.
failed, but I know it's not relevant, but I think we need standards for this too, so the city council, when it comes to approve something like that, has a set of standards to understand why this is 13 years or 15 years or 26 or whatever it is. So that's why I'm going to vote against it. Thank you.
Not a one-size-fits-all approach. Alderman Catanzaro.
Thank you, Your Honor. First, I want to say it's not COVID. It's a sinus infection. I'm on antibiotics, so don't panic if I start coughing to death here. Everybody sitting down? I rise in support of this. And I'll give you a lot of reasons. In subcommittee, people that were here heard me and heard Alderwoman Costa and Alderwoman Luna. And we had some major concerns. And through you to the alderman, the reason it came down is because of us. Alderwoman Costa started it with the Bird Street, and we will continue. We hope to get it down to 10 years or less in the future, but, like they say, it depends on the, case by case. So after the subcommittee, the mayor's office apparently and the owner met, and they came to an agreement. And if one thing you learn in politics over the years, it's very rare that you get 100% of what you want. You get 80%, that's a pretty good deal. And the agreement that we have today doubles what we would have got in the last agreement. So I really applaud the owner and the mayor's office that, made this happen. And that's why I know a lot of people, don't understand the city council or politics, is when we say no to something, it's not really saying no, it's to start the conversation. And that's exactly what happened today, or in the last week. And again, I want to acknowledge the mayor and her office, because they didn't need us. They had the votes, but that shows what this administration, in my opinion, and I'm not kissing up to anybody, and everybody knows that, I don't do that, does. She could have easily pushed this through, without our votes. But that's not what happened. They ended up negotiating and getting twice the amount of money that we would have got a couple weeks ago. So I just want to applaud everybody involved. It's not perfect, but we're definitely going in the right direction. So, thank you, Your Honor.
Thanks, Alderman Catanzaro. Alderman Dyson.
Thank you, Your Honor. First, admit, thank you. We really do appreciate you being downtown and wanting to renovate our buildings. That's, for me, that's huge. I would say when I was, and Mr. Koenig can attest to this, as we've often discussed, when I was going around with my ward knocking on doors, I was surprised how many people that I answered, the first question was, not taxes, not schools, was what can we do more downtown we want to go downtown. So that's been a big concern for a lot of people. I also want to thank Chief Staff Dorsey and the mayor for, Jack Benjamin, for negotiating different Plan 2. I did have questions. I reached out the morning of, I couldn't be here after my surgery, but I said we need to work with a little different plan. But Mr. Benjamin, if I, real quick, because I hear a lot of taxpayers erroneously saying some things, I just have one quick question. Can you expand on the enterprise zone just briefly, what it entails?
Sure. So it is pretty expansive legislation, and I'd bore you all to tears, and nobody wants to stick around for that entire explanation. But in this case, it was, we were one of the original 6 target investment communities when this law was passed in 1982. And that afforded us a few things, one of which is the ability to create flexible tax modification deals across our city, basically. So they had the foresight at the time. It was early, and it's only been within the last 10 to 15 years that these sort of deals have really been taken advantage of, because for most of that time, people weren't looking at downtowns at all. People weren't looking at urban centers to invest in, and as that has started to turn around, all of a sudden we've been sort of blessed to have these opportunities with developers coming to town and looking for flexible tax modification deals. It also, if you think about it, it's all trying to keep costs low so that that sort of savings can be passed on to potential renters or tenants. And that, you know, again, it was all about bringing investment back to the urban cores of the cities in Connecticut, and with tax modification deals like this, we're doing just that.
So there was a Democratic legislature that had passed it 1982 with 6, most small cities, so we're the smallest city of those that were passed. There's 45 communities that are in the plan now, the enterprise zone plan. So obviously it's of need. If it was a bad thing, then they would abolish it and not add to it. But this is a tax modification plan, not a tax abatement plan, correct?
Or deferment.
He will continue to pay taxes, if not increasing 4% every year, versus if we don't do anything with that building 12 years from now, what would be the tax on that building?
It's hard to say. I mean, we don't know what a reval looks like in another 5 years.
Well, if you didn't have a reval, what would it be, the same 14,000?
It's gleaning in the low 40s right now. Likely, you don't necessarily, if that building stays vacant, which it likely would have, Wireless Connection was the last tenant, and they took up about 15% of the entire gross floor area. It's unlikely you would have seen a larger tenant come in and pay more in rent, and thus drive the building's value up. So who knows? You know, we could be looking at it 50,000 only for the rest of its lifespan, unless somebody comes in and does something transformative. You also
And
can't.
under this plan, the 13th year is what for taxes?
It's going to be somewhere in the high 90s or early 100s. Yeah, 99 is a good
Thank you.
estimate, yeah.
And plus that, we're getting more and more people that will be living and participating downtown, wanting to be downtown, so hence back to the people I knock on doors saying, the city's great, it's more vibrant, so we need to have people downtown, so
Yeah, it'll have a multiplier effect, certainly.
I'm very much in favor of it, and I'm glad we redid it, so, and again, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Any other questions or comments? Alderman Rutkowski?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Benjamin, I just want to do one little quick example for Alderman Aram there. How long was the Burbank building vacant for? Do you remember? I know it's before your time.
Multiple decades, yeah, multiple decades. Before I was
Multiple
born.
decades, right?
Probably before I was born.
Until Mr. Zaleski finally sold it, and the city.
I got PTSD.
I'm sorry, Mayor, okay, but we have to go down this history a little bit real quick.
true.
I'll
It
make
is
this
true.
brief, okay? My point is that because we had a developer come on knock on our doors and say, hey, if you give me a little, I will give you a lot more. In the long run, we're gonna get a lot more, just like in this case. So we're gonna give a little bit, we're gonna get a lot more back. And now we have 2 huge buildings going up at downtown. We have all this development coming up. That's why we have this other developer now wants to do another project right down the street. So, Alderman, thank you very much for your, I guess, no vote, but you're hindering the process. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Any other questions or comments on this item? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. For the record, Alderman Ayalon, motion carries. Alderman Smedley, item number 2.
Thank you, Your Honor. I make a motion to accept and adopt item number 2. As we just discussed, we are committed to the
The second was by
revitalization-
Alderman Malinowski.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry.
As we discussed, we're committed to the revitalization and improvement of quality housing stock. And for this resolution, the City of New Britain and Alpha Acquisitions LLC are desirous of entering into a real estate tax modification agreement for the property located at 189 Chestnut Street with the intention of converting it into residential apartment units. And let's see, the agreement will limit real estate tax, property taxes to the 2022 payment to $14,949 for 2 years, and then $900 per residential unit for 4 years, $1,000 per unit for 4 years, and $1,200 per unit for 3 years, for a total of 13 years, commencing with the addition to the grand list following the issuance of temporary certificate of occupancy. And I do urge adoption, Your Honor.
Thank you, Alderman Smedley. Open this up for comments. Alderman Ayalon.
Yes, as Mr. Benjamin can, how many here, what's the percentage of affordable housing?
This
there?
project will produce 4 affordable units.
So it's doesn't include affordable?
4 affordable units.
Oh, just affordable? Oh, 4
4,
out of how
yeah.
many?
Out of 29 or 30 total.
So it's about 2%, or I don't know what?
More than
1%?
2%.
So very few.
About 15%.
Yeah, 15%, which again, I mean, the city's entire housing stock is somewhere in the high teens as percentage affordable, based on DOH calculations, so this is almost at pace.
So, yeah, you mentioned that in the committee also, meaning 19%. How is that compared to other cities in Connecticut, you know?
We exceed our affordability requirements, so it comes to 830G, we're well above the 10% mark. We're on pace with similar cities of our size and demographics.
Okay, and in your judgment, is that enough for the needs of the residents of New Britain?
There are studies that show if you are presenting about 20% of your housing stock as affordable, that's enough to generally stave off gentrification or runaway rents.
So we're 19, so we could do a little better, right?
I think we're doing pretty well when you compare us to our, I mean, Stamford's, getting less and less affordable every year. Even Bridgeport, New Haven, the coastal cities are. We're pretty good when you compare us to the rest of the state's urban areas.
So in this case, why is Alpha Acquisition, why is it providing such a small portion for affordable? Why can't the city negotiate higher percentage?
Well, I mean, this one didn't require it. So we're lucky we're getting anything affordable out of it. We basically are making a small grant that has an affordability component tied to it. The developer didn't need to provide for, but has agreed to provide for.
Okay, it didn't need because it's in a different location, not in?
No, it has to do with the funding source. So the last one was a recipient of a state of Connecticut grant that had different requirements tied to it and had a different dollar value.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Benjamin? Alderman Catanzaro, sure.
Your Honor,
You're good. Thank you.
I'm all for affordable housing. There's one thing nobody seems to be talking about. We have a real shortage for senior housing. We need senior housing, and that's a whole nother ballgame. There's large waiting lists, and if they can't get it here, they're gonna go out of town. So, just food for thought, Your Honor.
321 Ellis. 321 Ellis has a senior floor, but again, still not enough. I'm with you on that. Any other questions or comments on item number 2? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. For the record, Alderwoman Ortiz Luna and Alderman Ayalon. Motion carries. Resolution number 3, Alderman Thompson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Through you, I make a motion to accept and adopt item number 3.
Seconded by Alderman Malinowski.
All right, thank you. This is a resolution for the New Britain Fire Department, which is one of the greatest in the state of Connecticut, to provide training to keep our guys up to date on their training for rescue training, including confined space and machinery extraction. This is a grant that was done between New Britain and West Hartford, which I love to see that the towns are getting together and doing that. It's provided by FEMA. It's a cost of $182,000 for us with a 10% match, bringing it to $201,000. And this will provide great training for our guys to help provide our residents to be rescued in case of emergency, and I urge adoption.
Thank you very much, Alderman Thompson. Just something that I want to specifically note to everyone, the town of West Hartford is the fiduciary for this grant. They are the fiduciary. They do all of the background work, issue all the payments, do all that stuff. It is them. Just an FYI. Want to make sure everybody reads that. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Alderman Pabon, resolution number 4 this evening.
Thank you, Your Honor. I make a motion to accept and adopt resolution number 4.
Seconded by Alderman Dyson.
This is a request from the New Britain Police Department for a purchase order for $28,575 to buy cartridges and taser equipment. And there's 3 different taser equipment. Some are for training, some are for the everyday use, and I urge adoption.
Thank you very much, Alderman Pabon. Does anyone have any questions on this item to purchase? Alderman Ayalon.
Yes,
assuming
I have
Captain
a
Buckowitz
question
answered.
for, about tasers. Hello again. When I was on the school board, there was a kid in middle school that was tasered. And that was very upsetting. I have no problem with this. I'm just wanted maybe some clarification. What are the policies of using tasers, and what are the risks for those who are being tasered?
Well, so the reason why we are purchasing this amount is because we want to make sure that we replace broken equipment or malfunctioning equipment, the taser itself. And every year, we have to train every officer on the New Britain Police Department, to include new recruits in the academy, have to go through a very stringent training to get certified. That requires the discharge and the manipulation of the taser a couple times. And obviously, the cartridges, as you can tell by the request, are not inexpensive. And that's part of our policy, is the training. So.
And briefly, when would the police give me, maybe in general, might use the taser?
That's a very, it's a very vague question, because the use of the taser, each circumstance is different, correct? So, I mean, if the officer is confronted with a threat, that might be a reason for the use of the taser. The ultimate goal of the use of the taser is to reduce the loss of life, or reduce injury to both the officer and the person they're using it with. So.
Well, what is the impact of it being tasered? What's the
Oh,
physical impact?
Having been tasered myself, which is part of the training, you respond pretty quickly after you're done. And we, per policy, and we do this for every incident with the taser, we require medical personnel to evaluate the person.
So you kind of fall on the ground, or when you're being tasered?
It depends on how you're being tased. Generally, you will fall to the ground.
And when people are being tasered, usually what's the location usually that they point the tasering into? The hand, legs, or stomach, or where is that the preferred
So
location?
the use of the taser, there's a couple different ways. Obviously, the deployment of the cartridge, 2 prongs come out, and we try to aim center mass away from any vital organs, and that's how we would use it.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Captain Buckowitz? Alderman Dyson?
I just want to interject. So I was on the police commission when we discussed actually purchasing the tasers to begin with. So when we finally purchased the equipment, when I was chairman, I said, I'm going to go through the class, because of what does it really entail? It's an all-day class, includes tasing, being tased, et cetera, and the ramifications. You watch it all day. So the policy, it's multiple pages of what the policy is, and it's a very strict policy. And a lot of times, somebody says just the fact that they go taser, 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 taser is enough of a deterrent. Even when that's done, that goes to the state of Connecticut as a deterrent, that you actually pulled your taser and did a tase. So everything has to be documented, whether or not somebody is tased or somebody has a threat of being tased. And for the record, I was 6 years old and I went through that, and I was tased. So it hurt for the 5 seconds that I was down, but after that, other than a little wound in the back from the darts, it wasn't that big. But I'm glad I did it. My wife thought I was a little nutty, but I'm glad I did it. So it was a day before Thanksgiving.
Can't speak to that, sir.
But, so it really wasn't that bad. So thank you.
We keep the video handy if you want to see it of him, because we laugh at it frequently.
If you'd like to be recertified, sir, we'll talk after.
No, we do have it. Alderman Thompson?
Just for my fellow aldermen over there, the tasers are a life-saving measure that was proved in Bristol the other day. A woman tried to commit suicide by cop, and the taser actually took her down, and she's alive. I mean, she's got a lot of problems that she's going to have to deal with, but she's not dead. I mean, tasers are a non-lethal force to help the police do their job, so I'm full support of that.
Any other comments? Alderman Catanzaro.
You stole my thunder, Mike. I was gonna say the same thing. I think this is one of the greatest additions to our law enforcement. Years ago, we had Mace. That was it. That didn't always work very well. And I know probably what the Alderman's talking about. There are cases where people have some medical conditions and some things happen, but there's no way, I mean, it's either getting tased or getting shot. And I think, the officers, I think, do a great job. Nobody wants to kill anybody unless they really have to. And, I think the, tasers really, prove that, especially in this case in Bristol. I thought the officers did a great amount of restraint. She came in the lobby shooting, bullets. So I really believe in this, and, I think it's gonna save a lot of lives and get help for people that need it. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Captain. Alderman Russell, resolution number 5.
Thank you, Your Honor. For you, I would like to make a motion to accept and adopt item number 5.
I have a second from Alderman Smedley.
October marks the 28th anniversary of the National Disability Employment Awareness Month. And the purpose of this is to educate about ability employment issues and celebrate the many roles of American workers with disabilities. The city of New Britain became a welcoming community to visitors and residents with all backgrounds and abilities. The city would like to recognize the month of October as National Disability Employment Awareness Month, and I urge an adoption.
Thank you very much, Alderman Russell. Any comments on this, Alderman Smedley?
Thank you, Your Honor. I just want to recognize June O'Leary, who's here. June does a lot of work on our disability advocacy throughout our city. Thank you for everything that you do, June.
I'd like to butt in and second that. We're the envy of a lot of communities because of the amount of work that we do on behalf of our disabilities community in the city of New Britain. A lot of great events that June puts on, like the walk and roll that has more vendors than we know what to do with. But thank you for all you do on behalf of our disability community. Thank you. Let's talk about it. Come on, that's what this is for.
Just the other day, we had a breakfast which did exactly this, and I want to thank you for that. It was a great event. I enjoyed myself, and you did a great job. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments on this? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Resolution number 6, Alderman Dyson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Before I do that, just
I have a second from Alderman Smedley.
thank you. This is to name October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Domestic violence is a serious crime which is not bound to any one group of people, but traverses all economic, racial, gender, educational, religious, and social barriers. On average, and this is disgusting, but 24 people per minute are victims of rape, physical violence, or stalking by an intimate partner, which is more than 12 million men and women over the course of the year. It is our moral obligation to encourage domestic violence victims and their families to seek assistance from appropriate victim services organizations, such as we're so fortunate to have the Prudence Crandall Center here. The Common Council of the City of New Britain and Mayor Aaron Stewart recognize October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month and urge all citizens to work together to promote justice, provide peace, and prevent harm for all. And for me, having worked with the Prudence Crandall Center closely for about the past 5 or 6 years, actually pre-COVID and going through COVID, it's gut-wrenching to hear some of the stories, and I really do feel for the families and their children. So I urge adoption.
Thank you very much, Alderman Dyson. Any questions or comments on this? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Alderman Smedley.
Thank you, Your Honor. I make a motion to accept and adopt resolution number 7.
Seconded by Alderman Russell.
Thank you. This resolution will recognize October as Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. Pregnancy and infant loss is such a common occurrence, one that is usually not recognized, and many parents and families have suffered a miscarriage, stillbirth, or death of an infant during delivery or shortly after birth. This devastating tragedy often occurs suddenly without warning as a result of miscarriage, stillbirth, preterm birth, sudden infant death syndrome, accident, or other causes or complications. The City of New Britain wishes to acknowledge the profound grief experienced by families who suffer the death of a baby, as well as to acknowledge the existence of the babies and infants that died far too early. Even the shortest lives are still valuable, and the grief of those who mourn the loss of these lives should not be trivialized. Whereas the 15th day of October is recognized in parts of the United States and in many other jurisdictions around the world as a day of remembrance and awareness of pregnancy and infant loss, now therefore be resolved, the City of New Britain proclaims October as Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month, and I urge adoption.
Thank you, Alderman Smedley. Any questions or comments on this? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Sorry, last thing I want to hear about right now. Alderman Catanzaro, item number 8.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Maybe I'll just have the
Thank
baby.
you, Your
right
Honor,
here.
and make a
Right
motion
now.
to accept and adopt resolution number 8.
Seconded by Alderman Thompson.
All righty, I'm going to read this or attempt to, as a proud Italian American. Italian American Heritage Month has been celebrated across the United States in October since 1989 to reflect on the professional and social accomplishments of all American of Italian descent and their impact on American society. Whereas the City of New Britain is proud to be home to such a distinguished population and recognize the accomplishment Italian American men and women have made in the fields including business, education, government, law, medicine, and public safety. Whereas in addition to a strong professional presence, Italian American fraternal organizations including Angelo Tommaso Lodge Order Sons of Italy in America, Calabria Mia, General Miglio Society, Angelo Custodi Society, Campia Pietra Society, and the Italian Heritage Foundation. And I'm going to add a few more that aren't here anymore. The Marcajan Club on Acorn Street, the Fraternal, which was on Monroe Street, the Bernardino Bartolato Post, which is on the top of Main, the old castle. And there's probably a couple more. There was several in the city. Have long been pillars in the New Britain community and have contributed to a rich, diverse culture in our city. Now therefore be it resolved that the City of New Britain designates October as Italian American Heritage Month, and I urge adoption.
Thank you, Alderman
you.
Catanzaro. Any questions, comments? Alderman Ayalon?
Thank you, Your Honor. I just want to second this. I recently visited in Italy, and just an amazing place. Not just the food, but it's the people, it's the value of tradition, value of history, and it's amazing. You go to Florence, you go to Lucca, you go to other places, it's maintained as it was 1,000 years ago. And such a model for the rest of us, how to preserve tradition. And the people are just unbelievable. We're blessed for having so many Italians. I know they had no choice but to immigrate here, poverty and others. But our country is what it is, a lot because of the Italians. So thank you all for your contribution, and it was amazing to go and see that in person. Thank you.
All right.
I forgot a couple things. Yeah, what's also great about our great city is keeping our history. Because of this council and our mayor, we had a great Columbus Day event at the statue. And, you know, where a lot of towns are taking our statues down in the history, ours is up and very proud. And we've just raised the Italian flag in Central Park. So this city is we all know how diverse it is. We support every culture, and that's something we all should be proud of. Thank you, Your Honor.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Alderman Malinowski for another one.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. I make a motion to accept and adopt item 9.
Seconded by Alderman Rakowski. I have to, sorry. No, I didn't even say it, but like I have to.
If we want, Alderman Rakowski can say this again in Polish after I'm finished. This recognizes October as Polish American Heritage Month. And during the month of October, we recognize and honor Americans of Polish descent who have helped build our nation and our community. Many valorous Polish individuals fought alongside their American comrades during the Revolutionary War to win independence for this great nation. General Kazimierz Pulaski served diligently and tenaciously during the Revolutionary War with distinction, and his courageous efforts and selfless acts will never be forgotten. October 11th is designated as General Pulaski Memorial Day in honor of the valiant leader that sacrificed his life for a country not his own in an endeavor to secure freedom and liberty for others. During this time, we also reflect on the contributions of many Polish Americans that have so richly given to develop this great nation and throughout history. Polish American citizens have contributed so much to our society and our community from their support in battle, their skills in business, knowledge and education, and all areas of life. And the City of New Britain recognizes October as Polish American Heritage Month and encourage all residents to celebrate the sacrifices, contributions, culture, and prosperity of our friends and neighbors of Polish descent. And I urge adoption.
Dziękuję, Alderman. Alderman Rakowski, you want to add anything? I don't know. I just feel like I have to call on you to add something.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I appreciate that. Chciałem serdecznie podziękować wszystkim Polakom, którzy mieszkają w New Britain i za New Britain. Ten miesiąc, który teraz obchodzimy, podziękować generałowi Pulaskiemu na ten specjalny jego dzień i dziękuję. Sure, right on the fly. Thank you. I appreciate that, Mayor. Aren't you a little bit tired?
I don't know what you said, but you did great. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Alderman Smedley.
October is a popular month. I make a motion to accept and adopt Resolution 10.
Seconded by Alderman Thompson.
Thank you. This resolution will recognize October as Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Excluding skin cancer, breast cancer is the most common cancer in women. It is the second leading cause of cancer death in women after lung cancer, and the chance of a woman having invasive breast cancer sometime during her life is about 1 in 8. The chance of dying from breast cancer is about 1 in 36. And currently, there are over 2.8 million women living in the United States who have been treated for breast cancer. Approximately 40,000 women will die from the disease this year. Men are also able to get breast cancer, and in fact, there are 2,360 cases every year of breast cancer in men in the United States. It is not yet known exactly what causes breast cancer, but what is known is the certain risk factors are linked to the disease. Women aged 40 and older should have a mammogram annually. Women in their 20s and 30s should have a clinical breast exam as part of their regular exam by a health expert. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the City of New Britain recognizes October as Breast Cancer Awareness Month and implores the citizens of the city to be aware of this disease, its risks and symptoms, and are encouraged to self-screen monthly and be screened regularly. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Alderman Smedley. Any Alderman Ayalon?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is my last opportunity, I guess, as a Common Council member to mention my sister that passed away from breast cancer 25 years ago, Dita Yehudit Ayalon, and so take that last time opportunity to mention her, and I know that if it happened today, she probably would be survived with all the, so I urge everybody to get, especially women, to get their yearly checkup and prevent that from happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Thompson?
Your Honor, I would just like to definitely urge all women to get their mammogram early as they can, do it yearly. The breast cancer affected my family. My wife got it. She's at a 5-year remission mark now. So early detection is the key. So please, women out there, get your mammograms. Don't put it off. Don't wait. Get it done. Catch it early. So that's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Alderman. Amen to that. That's how my mom beat it last year, too. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Alderman Smedley.
Thank you, Your Honor. I make a motion to accept and adopt Resolution 11.
Second by Alderman Russell.
This is our list of taxes referred, or excuse me, this is our list of tax abatements, corrections, and refunds, and I do urge adoption.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Alderman Smedley, this one to you.
Thank you, Your Honor. I make a motion to accept and adopt Resolution 12.
Seconded by Alderman Catanzaro.
Thank you. The Parks and Recreation and Community Services Department has been awarded a mini grant from the 21st Century Learning Center Supplemental Grant Program to develop a student internship program for its after-school programming. Work-eligible students in the National Academy of Finance Academy at New Britain High School will be hired and placed into group leader positions in the after-school program at De Loretto, Holmes, and Vance to gain experience and satisfy 1 credit towards high school graduation. That's actually really good. And the total amount of the grant is in $30,000, and it will be appropriated to the city special revenue fund account structure in accordance with the requirements of the grantor agency. I do urge adoption.
Thanks, Alderman Smedley. Any questions or comments on this? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Alderman Malinowski.
Thank you, Your Honor. I make a motion to accept and adopt item 13.
Second.
Second by Alderman Russell.
And this is for $66,884 to CDM Smith to conduct a water audit. There is an increase of unaccounted for water in our distribution system, and CDM Smith needs to go in and perform a new audit to figure out what's going on with that. And I urge adoption.
Thank you, Alderman. Any questions or comments? Alderman Ayalon.
Yes, can I have some answers on this? Thank you.
Moriarty is here.
Mr. Moriarty, thank you. How do we know that we have 20% water unaccounted for?
There's a certain amount of water that the water treatment plant produces that we can measure. And then there's a certain amount of water that we know is purchased and goes through meters. And there's the differential is approximately 20%.
So is that the first time that this is happening, or
No.
every year we have 20%?
No, we did this, the first time we ever did this, it was 5 years ago. And we decided to do this as a 5-year program. The company comes in, they do ground penetrating radar, and not all water leaks show up at the surface. So we get some significant water leaks that show up under the surface you can't detect without ground penetrating radar. Some of them could be in mains, some of them could be in laterals. So once we identify those large leaks that aren't showing up at the surface, we repair them. And it's with an older system like ours, we think it's about a 5-year, every 5 years we should do this.
So this does not include, large water bills that some residents get suddenly get unexplained. Does that not include that?
This is water that hasn't gone through it's
hasn't
left the
gone.
treatment plant, but hasn't gone through someone's meter.
So it must be leaking somewhere, and we have to find out. How do you find out where it's leaking?
Because you do the ground penetrating radar, and it detects locations where you have a lot of water movement underground. And we found a lot of locations last time we did this. We made a lot
So
of
this
repairs.
grant is for that, to allocate those locations?
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for Mr. Moriarty? Alderman Thompson?
Mr. Moriarty, just a comment. Laterals are not covered by the city, they're covered by the homeowners to repair. I'll take this opportunity to urge all homeowners to get safety valve for their house because it's a very expensive repair, so get it on your water line and your sewer line. As far as I remember, repairs on your water line can be about $5,000, $6,000, Mr. Moriarty, if that's correct, and sewer line's about the same. So for $175 a year, you're covered. So I will urge the people to get that.
Any other comments? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And Alderman Rutkowski?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I make a motion to accept and adopt item number 14.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Smedley.
This is the new meter rate for subway rental rate for the period of January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024. It says 23. Should be 2024. Of $3.13 per linear foot. and I urge an adoption.
Thanks, just a Scribner's error. Mr. Clerk, if you could just make a note of that. He's got it. Any questions or comments on this? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motion.
Made by Alderman Smedley, seconded by Alderman Bratkowski. All those in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. The time is 8:20 PM.
Go get home, get off your feet.
Yeah, exactly.
Before you burst.
We do it, the whole summer.
Oh, I know.
Before you burst.
Bobby never bought half for it. $33.13 for half.